Why, hello everyone. So I got LASIK about 2 weeks ago. It was a very exciting, scary experience for me. And I know that I appreciated watching some videos about people detailing their LASIK experiences whenever I was about to go into my appointment. So I wanted to make this video to discuss my experience and tell you whether or not I think LASIK is worth it. So I do want to give you a bit of backstory on my eyesight in particular, and if you're not interested in this at all, feel free to skip ahead, but I do want to give some context as to why I wanted to get this procedure. So I never really had terrible vision. There are some people that wake up and can't see anything. That was never really me. I think I was -1 in my right eye and -0.25 in my left eye. So basically I couldn't see distant things very well, and the really annoying part was my right eye was so much worse than my left eye. And my right eye was my dominant eye, so that's basically what my vision based everything off of. This basically just means that I see everything from the perspective of my right eye, and then my brain just uses my left eye to fill in the gaps. So a couple years back, whenever I was using contacts, I would actually only have one contact and put it in my right eye, which was extremely annoying to me to have the feeling of a contact in the right eye and nothing in the left eye. It just seemed very off balance. And eventually it got to the point where contacts were just really annoying to me in general, and I stopped using them altogether. I tried to pick them back up about 1 or 2 years ago, and I found that I just couldn't keep them in my eyes. I tried a bunch of different brands, but none of them really seemed to be comfortable to me. And this might have been because I had astigmatism in both eyes, which basically just means that there are abnormally shaped corneas on the eyes. And if I'm understanding this correctly, contacts have a harder time sitting on eyes with astigmatism because of that. I also had a weird type of astigmatism according to my eye doctor. He told me I have horizontal astigmatism instead of vertical astigmatism. And this basically just means that vertical lines blur from left to right instead of horizontal lines blurring top to bottom. From what he explained to me, he said that horizontal astigmatism is a little bit more annoying because we're a little bit more used to seeing horizontal lines blur from top to bottom because our eyelids are horizontal and they are constantly making things blur in our minds, if that makes sense. And I also noticed this after the fact, but most words are made up of vertical lines instead of horizontal lines. So words are a lot harder to read with horizontal astigmatism. Okay, I probably did a terrible job explaining that, but basically I had astigmatism in both eyes. I was nearsighted, meaning I couldn't see far distances, and contacts were very annoying for me to wear, and I couldn't get away with wearing contacts for even a day at a time. I also just never really liked wearing glasses. I pretty much only wore them at work and whenever I was driving for long road trips, but otherwise I was just walking around with no glasses, no contacts or anything, and not being able to see very well. So I started looking into LASIK probably a little over a year ago and just never really pulled the trigger. I figured it was something that I always wanted to do because I knew that if I got it now, it was way more beneficial to me and I could get in way more years of great eyesight without glasses or contacts. So the surgery that I got was bladeless LASIK. This is compared to PRK, and from what I understand, I am not an eye doctor, so definitely talk to a professional about this, but PRK is for people with very thin corneas. So this is going to be something that is assessed whenever you go in for a LASIK consultation. They will actually look at your corneas and see if you qualify for LASIK, or if your corneas are very thin, they would probably recommend PRK for you. Also with PRK, there is less of a chance of extreme dryness in your eyes, but with PRK, there is a much longer recovery time. So this decision was pretty simple for me. Since neither of the doctors that I visited recommended PRK for me, I decided to go for LASIK because the recovery time was much quicker. I decided to go with the LASIK Vision Institute to get my LASIK done. This was for two main reasons. Number one, the cost was better than anything I had seen anywhere else. I did get a discount with my VSP insurance. For those of you that don't know, LASIK is not covered by your insurance because it is an elective procedure. But for me, my particular insurance did discount a portion of it if I went with some specific facilities. So that's definitely something something to consider if you are looking into getting LASIK. And the other reason I decided to go with this facility was basically just because they had a bunch of great reviews online, and usually whenever I see hundreds upon hundreds of pleased customers, I'm pretty confident that I will be pleased in the process as well. Okay, so now let's jump into the full process of getting LASIK, starting with the initial consultation. Most facilities will offer this consultation for free to get you to go there and actually consider LASIK, and so that they can try and convince you to book a slot with them. I went to 2 different facilities and talked to 2 different specialists about getting LASIK. This is definitely something I would recommend because it's always nice to have a second opinion, especially on something as precious as your eyes. For me, I found this other consultation to be very valuable because it's really nice to compare prices, to do that double check to make sure that your eyes even qualify for LASIK, and it's nice to see which facility you just feel more comfortable in. So in the consultation, they will walk you through different tests on your eyes. You pretty much spend maybe an hour or so going through different tests just to make sure that you are a candidate for LASIK. They'll check your corneas, they'll look for dryness, they'll check your vision, and I'm sure a bunch of other things to determine whether they'll recommend LASIK to you or maybe something else. And then this is the time they'll be able to answer any questions you might have about the procedure, any fears you might have, and they'll be able to walk you through what exactly is going to happen in the surgery day. If you are interested in getting LASIK or whatever procedure they recommend to you, by the end of the appointment, they'll usually be able to throw you on the calendar. They are usually pretty eager to do this, and I actually got a discount because I grabbed the first available appointment through LASIK Vision Institute, and this automatically knocked off $200 to my overall cost. At both of the facilities I visited, they told me my appointment would be about 90 minutes, and I found this to be true at both of the facilities. So just make sure you are planning for about 90 minutes whenever you book your appointment. And if you do book an appointment the day that you're there for your consultation, usually they'll send you home with a prescription that you'll have to pick up at your local pharmacy before you get there the day of the surgery. Okay, so jumping to the actual day of the surgery, they'll probably tell you to shower before the surgery because you won't be able to do that for, I think, at least 24 hours or so. They'll also usually recommend that you eat a meal because you will be kaput for a couple hours after the surgery. They'll also either want you to pay for your surgery in full, or they'll want you to set up a care credit account, which I'll go over later in the video. And like I said, you're going to have to pick up that prescription at the pharmacy as well. They'll also probably make you sign some paperwork, and I found I wasn't nervous at all for the procedure until I started signing this paperwork because they go through all of the possible things that can go wrong. This definitely freaked me out a little bit, especially because I signed it right before I walked into the office. Just be prepared for that. You're also going to have a driver for the procedure, somebody to drop you off and pick you up because you will not be able to see very well coming out of the appointment. Once I made it to the LASIK facility the day of my surgery, they made me fill out more paperwork, surprise, surprise, and then they usher you back, talk to you about the procedure and what you can expect afterwards, any things they need you to follow in the couple days after the procedure, and then they guide you to the surgery room. The actual procedure, I think, only took about 10 minutes. It was a very, very simple process. Even though they had me pick up a prescription for Valium to take before my surgery to calm me down during the process, they actually didn't have me take that. And I was lying on the surgery bed and I said, wait a second, wasn't I supposed to take something? And the surgeon actually told me that even though they have patients pick that up, they haven't been recently making them take it because it causes them to be a little too sleepy, and so they can't concentrate on looking at the designated lights. So that freaked me out just a little bit because I was thinking I was going to be a lot calmer than I was during the procedure, but it ended up being totally fine. The actual procedure is in 3 main phases. First, they apply some numbing drops and then cut the cornea flap, and then bend it over. Next, they will use lasers to sculpt the cornea, and this is where they're actually improving your eyesight. And then they fold the flap back over, make sure that's sealed, and you're good to go after that. There are plenty of videos online to actually show you what this process looks like, but I'll just give you my experience during the process. The first part of the procedure was definitely the most uncomfortable. This is whenever they want you to look through a ring of lights, and that ring just gets closer and closer until eventually it's basically just pressing on your eyeball. At least that's what it felt like. So the next part of the procedure was whenever they were actually reshaping the cornea. During this part of the procedure, they had me stare at a green light, and then some lasers got closer and closer to my eyes. It made a bunch of scary noises, which he warned me about. And then during this phase is whenever you could smell what smelled like burning. And I think I read somewhere that this isn't actually your flesh burning, it's just something to do with the machines, but just an interesting experience. After this part, this is whenever your vision is technically corrected. They fold that flap back over, and then he kind of, if I remember correctly, he like paints on your eyelid to seal it back up and make sure that everything is in place, I guess. After that, everything is done and you can stand up and see better than you did before. So moving on to after the procedure, like I said, somebody's going to have to pick you up and drive you home. And this is whenever you're going to want to sleep for a couple of hours, because my doctor described it to me as there being gases released from your eyes, something along those lines. And your eyes will definitely sting a little bit in 3 to 4 hours after your surgery. So I went home. It took me a while to fall asleep. My eyes were definitely stinging, and it wasn't ever really painful. It definitely stung and my eyes were very irritated, but nothing along the lines of serious pain by any means. They also give you a very stylish pair of goggles to wear for this part as well, so that you don't hit your eye or cause anything that would disturb the flap, so it can heal properly. Something that I didn't expect to happen was that I had some gnarly red patches on my eyes that were very bright the day after my procedure, and I actually still have them. It's been about 2 weeks from my procedure and they've definitely gone down quite a bit, but it looks a little scary at first. They told me that this was a result of them suctioning my eye, and I guess this breaks blood vessels in the eye, which I didn't even know that they suctioned my eye during the procedure. But they said that these should heal completely in a couple of weeks after the surgery. Some other symptoms that you can expect after your laser vision surgery are dry eyes. That's a big one, and one that I was very worried about going into the procedure, because during the consultation they actually told me that I had dry eyes, and so I would be more prone to dry eyes after the procedure. So my eyes have definitely been dry, but it's not as bad as I was expecting, which I'm very thankful for. They tell you to use non-preservative tears to keep your eyes hydrated. They'll probably either send you home with some or have you pick some up. But this is the pack that they sent me home with. And the interesting thing about these is because they don't have any preservatives in them, they come in single vials like this, and you can use them for 24 hours after you've opened them before they go bad. So these ones actually have a little cap that you can push back on after you're done using them, and so one of these will be good for about a day or so. I was using these to hydrate my eyes constantly because, like I said, I was pretty worried about dry eyes after the procedure. Another thing they recommended to me, because I spend all day on the computer for work, was to use a brooder mask, and so I've been using that pretty regularly since my procedure. I can go get that. Okay, so this is the brooder mask. And what you do is you heat it up in the microwave, and it actually feels pretty amazing. And you just wear it like this for 8 to 10 minutes or so. And this basically just puts moisture back in your eyes, and it feels like you're at a spa. So I would highly recommend one of these for after your procedure. So now jumping into cost, which I'm sure most of you are pretty curious about. This procedure cost me $3,508.50. And this price was after the discount that I got from my VSP insurance, which took off 25% off of my total cost at a LASIK Vision Institute location. This also included the $200 I got off of this price from booking the first available appointment date. I decided to finance through Care Credit, which seems to be a very common way that you can pay for elective surgeries. And the great thing about Care Credit is they have options to pay for your procedure with 0% interest for 12 months. So this is what I opted to do, and maybe I'll make a video all about Care Credit in the future, but this process was very easy. I basically just signed up online and I think I was approved immediately, but during the day of the procedure, they only ask you for your Care Credit account, and then you'll see the balance for the procedure show up a couple days after your surgery. I'd highly recommend this option if you don't want to pay for your LASIK upfront. If I had just opened a credit card and I was trying to hit a minimum spend, I definitely would have used that card to pay for the LASIK procedure, but I don't have any new cards on the horizon. I'm pretty happy with what I have now in terms of points. I have more travel points than I can burn through at the moment. So I decided to go the financing option so that I can just keep my money in the market and slowly pay down this balance. So the final question, was LASIK worth the cost? And I definitely think it is, even though it really is a steep cost up front and it seems very frivolous to be paying for something like elective surgery. I think not having to deal with contacts or glasses for the next couple decades is going to be an amazing thing, and I definitely don't think I'm going to regret spending money on it anytime soon. I'm definitely not fully recovered yet. They say your vision should be fully stable in about 6 months or so. So maybe I'll come back with an update about that. But overall, I'm very happy with this procedure. It's kind of crazy to just be able to look outside and see all of the details in the trees and the surroundings, and it's just a very pleasant experience. I would highly recommend LASIK to anyone that's interested in it, but only if you have the means to pay for it, because it is a really big cost. So I think that's all I have for you today. If you have any other questions about LASIK and my personal experience, please leave those in the comments below. Please don't ask any medical questions because I am definitely not a medical professional, but if you have any more questions about my experience, I would love to share that with you. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.